Good evening. It is 5:15 this Monday, September 11th, and the Carroll City Council is now in session. Would you all please rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you would, please stay standing just for a quick moment. I'd like to join with me in a moment of silence, remembering those who fell September 11, 2001. Just a moment, please, and pause and reflect and say a prayer if you wish. Just a moment. Thank you. God bless America. Okay. Let's see. We have roll call. All are present. We have right off the bat something fun to do, and that's recognition of retirement for Diane Tracy. So Wendy, you going to join me down here? Diane's here. You're going to stay the whole night or just for the fun part?
Just for the fun part.
All right, very good. I'm going to turn this over to Wendy, if you don't mind. You get right on in here.
This is for you. Am I saying any words? My words are written down, so can I do that when I sit down? Okay, then smile-ish. Thank you.
She says she's got something
Yeah,
for you.
I do have
so
some
you got to
words.
stay up here just for a second. There's more fun. There's more.
No, this is not fun.
Oh, this isn't fun.
So being a children's librarian takes a special person. You have to relate to toddlers and preschoolers, their parents, and their teachers all equally. You have to find games, books, and activities fun enough to get the kids excited and engaged, but calm down enough when they go home for their parents and the teachers to still be happy. Just a few things Miss Diane has probably done too many times to count: read children's books, plan story times and book visits, make sample crafts, answer questions about Dr. Hoot, communicate with puppets, and hold babies so their moms can help their toddlers with crafts. That's a very tough job, but somebody has to do it. And on the more serious side, forming connections with new parents and new Carroll residents, offering friendly advice, and getting kids excited about reading. Miss Diane, it would be impossible to measure the impact you have had on our community. On behalf of the patrons, staff, and trustees of the Carroll Public Library, I want to thank you for all your years of service and wish you a very happy retirement.
Thank you.
You know, I said this the last several retirements. You know, I'm starting to take this personally. I mean, there's a lot of people who have been retiring since I've been in office, and so I'm getting this complex. So I've got an appointment with a psychiatrist tomorrow to let you know.
Sorry about that.
Well wishes in your retirement.
Thank
God
you.
bless you. Thank you for your service. Everybody knew I had psychological problems anyway, so. Okay, but are we going to introduce a new employee then? And so I'm going to leave you up. You're still at bat.
Yes, thank you so much again. So I would like to introduce the new Children's Services Librarian, Kirsten Postel. She has some big shoes to fill, obviously, but I'm confident she will bring her own enthusiasm and love of reading and learning to this position and make it her own. On behalf of the patrons, staff, and trustees, we hope Kirsten enjoys a long and happy career at the Carroll Public Library.
Kirsten, thank you very much. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Take it easy on her tonight.
Right.
Okay.
My shift is almost done.
Thanks again, Kirsten.
Thank you.
Okay, we have, moving right along, we have the consent agenda tonight, which includes, as always, the approval of the minutes of our prior meeting on August 28th. We have approval of bills and claims for this cycle. We also have one license and permit to approve, which is a new special 5-day Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service for 1 day for Hy-Vee's Oktoberfest event, which is September 30th. And then we have one infill housing application to approve. And I want to check, I should have checked with you before the meeting. I think they've got a wrong date on the application, and I think it's just a typo on their part. But it said 2023 is the completion date of March. I'll pull it up here. You're looking at me like,
Yeah, it does have that. I bet he meant 24.
I'm sure, but is that something that we can just approve here and just understand that that's? Yep. Okay. Okay, I just caught that before the meeting and I didn't have much chance to talk to you, so. Okay, so I would look forward to, a question about?
Yeah, I do have, I see on the bill that we're paying for the rehabilitation for well 19. And I was just curious, you know, I told Randy that I'd ask this question today to get us, how did that work? You know, the one that was troubling.
It did not work. We started, this well was constructed in, when was it, 18? And it started out with a specific capacity of 12.5 gallons per foot of drawdown. And that yielded about 300 gallons per minute from the well. By November of 22, that had deteriorated to a specific capacity of 4.4, and it was yielding about 100 gallons per minute. So we went through this exercise and expended a considerable amount of money trying to rehab that well. The important thing to remember is that that well building contains the generator for our well 18 also. So we thought it was important to try to bring this well back as much as we possibly could. Well, beginning this work at a 4.4 specific capacity, all of the effort resulted in a 4.58 specific capacity. There was, very, very little improvement in it. And as we'd indicated the last time this issue came up, this is the end of what we currently know for rehabilitation for this well. So the proposal now would just be to pump it at the rate that it'll yield and continue to use it at that rate, about 100 gallons per minute. So.
And this one has always, it's one of our newest ones, but it's kind of been a problem child since day one, right?
Yeah, it really didn't live up to the initial projections after the well or test drilling. It came in short of what we were hoping for at 300 gallons per minute, and then deteriorated after that. So.
Thank you.
Good question, thanks. Any other questions on that for now? If not, I would seek a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda as presented.
So move. Second.
Laverne and Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bauer?
Yes.
Bornero?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Space?
Yes.
Yurts?
Yes.
Schrack? Yes. Motion is approved.
Perfect. Thank you. Item number 6 tonight, as always, is we have oral requests and communications from the audience. This is on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. And I do understand that we have some residents that want to approach the council, and now would be the time. We all know you, but for the record, name and address, Ron.
Okay. Well, anyway, my name is Ron Muehlbauer. I'm a resident of Carroll for 59 years. And other than presenting audit reports to the council, this is my first appearance in front of you guys, so bear with me, please. I presented to you, gentlemen and ladies, some paperwork concerning a petition to ask the city for your help. This issue is not a new issue at all. It's come up numerous times. I talked to a neighbor yesterday, And they said he remembers 30 years ago that it was promised to that area that they were going to get relief either with a new tower or a new pumping station to increase the pressure up at our area. I took the lead and had Devon Putin's come up currently, and he took water pressures up at 1018 and also at the water hydrant across the street over on the Carrollton property. They both measured 42 pounds per square inch, which is quite low. Had another one taken by Devon down on 1406 East West Street, and it was 82. Quite a difference. Anyone in my neighbors here present or around would invite any councilman or lady to come up and take a shower in our rooms rather than what they got for themselves, because it's not good. Got one lady here tonight that says she gets in the shower and luckily to get the shampoo out of her hair because no water pressure. One neighbor was going to put in a new bathroom and he wanted a fancy shower with all the jets streaming out, and the plumber said, forget it, you don't have enough water pressure to have that. It just goes on and on. Everyone I talked to, I got no decline signature opportunities, and they all have their own problem with the pressure. Been promises and promises made by the council that it was going to be rectified, and obviously it has not been. So we're requesting the city to take some action regarding this. We love our city. We're proud of our city. It's a proud city. I don't think that it's fair and equitable that the majority, the average is 60, 70 pounds per square inch versus our 40 and lower. So we're indeed going to follow up on any action that we could possibly hear from the council, pro or con, and hopefully we will not be heard with deaf ears. It's not a nice situation. It's the first time that I've run into it. I've lived in various spots in the city and I've never had a problem. But I reside up at 1018 West 18th with 42 pounds of pressure. Not good for the house, certainly not good for my beautification work that I'm trying to accomplish by resodding and so on. We're hauling that water in, so that's not even a situation that the pressure is making a big item. But it sure be nice to be able to use my sprinklers, so on, like everybody else can, but there's just not enough pressure to get the job done. Have several neighbors with me trying to help petition some help. Whatever the city and the city council can do for us, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Very good.
Okay?
Okay, very good. Just protocol and how rules go, under this segment of the city council, Ron, and others, is the city council can choose to respond immediately right away or ask any questions as they wish, but they're not obligated to at this point. So you've made your point. Appreciate you doing so, but unless there's no other questions for Ron or any of the neighbors up there, we will duly noted.
Yeah, anybody have a comment?
No, I'd just like to know what they would do. You get in the shower, if I run my washer and Ron turns his sprinklers on, my washer goes to no water. It can have 2 minutes left, but I've got to start the whole hour and 20-minute cycle over. You know, that happens. I can feel it in my shower or my water when the neighbors take a shower or run their washer.
Virginia,
What would you do?
Virginia, can I ask you just to identify yourself for the record as you spoke?
I'm Virginia Sigwalt. I live 1932 North US Highway 71.
Perfect, thank you.
Can I just, when was the last time you guys approached the council about this?
That is what?
When was the last time you guys approached the council about this issue?
I never have, but other people have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never approached the council, but I've approached the water department, had them come up and they say, I've heard you're at the end of the line, you're at the top of the hill, what do you expect? We're going to have a study done on this. We're slated to put in a tower next year, and that's all been 5-6 years ago. You know, I just gave up on it.
Any other questions for our guests? Okay,
How big an area are we talking here?
I think it's probably larger than what you guys even have on this. I've heard, personally, I have a house on Benjamin that is a group home rental of mine, for New Hope Village, and I've heard from them that there's been water pressure issues there. I've never talked to the neighbor next door, but I know that they may have some sort of a pump station in their house that helps make the water pressure higher. So I think the area, besides what's listed between Crestview 18th and Highway 71, I think it's a much larger area or a larger concern talking to
Absolutely,
people.
yeah.
Yes.
You're exactly right.
Randy, do you know where the pump station is that services this area?
Oh, there's only one pump station in Carroll. It's down at the Raccoon River, at the south end of Adams Street. So the Carroll is currently a single pressure zone. And the higher you are, of course, in elevation in town, the lower the pressure. The lower you are, the higher the pressure. And that's, part of just the physical topography that's impacting some of their pressures. So most everything in the northwest part of town would be similar in pressure
I agree.
to where Ron is.
Randy, are there any quick fixes that the residents, any action they can take? Ron and I visited over the weekend, and I know he's talked to many people on the staff, and I just wonder, are there any remedies that you could recommend to them, or is it all on the city to figure out a solution?
There aren't any remedies that I know of offhand that would be permissible
Okay.
In the public water system. They're, as they've indicated, the issue has been studied in the past, and there have been some steps taken. They haven't been the giant step, to solve it, but there was a new line run from the water tower up to pretty much 18th and Highway 71 several years ago that it doesn't solve the static pressure, which Ron had measured at 42 PSI, but it probably helped their residual pressure so that when something's flowing, the residual doesn't drop off quite as much. It does quite a bit up there, like 9-10 pounds. So that's where you get the washer issue. And then what was most recently, there was a line augmented after 2018 from the tower out, was a recommendation of the preliminary engineering study of the water system at that time. And that study was kind of the second one that had come up with the solution, may be a tower or a pump station to boost the water pressure in the area. So that was presented in 2018. The first step was taken. The second, the tower issue or booster station, had not been programmed for expenditure at this yet.
Any other questions? You're supposed to limit these to 5 minutes, but we're good. here's the best that I'll tell you, at least speaking on behalf of council, is it's been duly noted, it'll be in our minutes that you've, raised the issue and the concern. I think it's safe to say that the council would be equally concerned to look into this, perhaps per process, and duly noted. And so what we'll have to do is we would, one of the two things, either place it on an agenda sometime soon, but as Randy kind of inferred there, is it's got to be put into the program. This fall, we will embark on our strategic planning for the 5-year plan and what comes forth within the next given year. And so, again, I can't speak on behalf of the council on this per se, but something of concern that deals with infrastructure has all of our interest. And so I would, believe that, we will look into this thing sooner than later and not 5 years from now is what I don't want you leaving here tonight thinking it fell on deaf ears. That's what I do not want you to think. But because it wasn't part of tonight's agenda, we just don't have, the proper planning in which to discuss. But I think you can safely say that we will, raise this to the council's attention and place it into a plan relatively soon. Okay? It's the best I can offer you right now.
The older residents up there said, good luck. Try to get some action instead of promises.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had enough promises with council. Look forward to have something accomplished.
Well, I'll refrain from using the term promise, but I will guarantee you the term attention. How about that?
You, Mayor.
Is that fair?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you all.
good enough.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again. Okay, let's see, I about lost my spot for a second here. Yeah, resolutions, yeah, no ordinance, yeah. Thanks, that's what I kept you for. Item number 8, under resolutions tonight, the first one is Chad. We have Merchants Park Baseball Stadium Project.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead, Chad.
All this is a basic contract with CTS, who does most of our city's testing, material testing, concrete testing. This would be for the Merchants Park project that we currently have out to bid. That is slated to hopefully have some work moving this fall. Right now, what we have out to bid is bleachers and netting, and then also our dugout project. So those will be let on Thursday. So we divided up into 2 separate projects. This number is based on both projects. If one doesn't go through, obviously going to be on the lesser end. The other one would still end up going to next year as well. So at our next meeting, I will have more information along with a public hearing on that project. So hopefully we get some good bids and we can start moving forward. So my recommendation is for the council to approve CTS's contract or proposed contract for Merchants Park Baseball Stadium project in the amount of $5,800 to $6,500.
I have a question, Chad.
Sure.
I know you've been waiting for this too. You do the testing, then what happens when they come back? Say, oh, we have bad soil. We need to do further stuff.
So this one likely won't be any in-ground testing.
Okay.
This is material testing. So they're going to make sure that the concrete is to a certain degree.
It has nothing to do with soil.
This one shouldn't, no.
The memo mentions soils.
Soil. That's why I'm asking soils.
And that's just kind of the general spec of what they perform on. So there might be a little bit of soil work at the dugout project.
The dugout part, yeah,
Yep.
I would think.
But it's not like it's holding a huge slab on top of where
Right.
they will be digging. It would just be expanding those existing in-ground dugouts.
Okay.
So their contract is an hourly fee, they just can't guarantee how many hours it's gonna take, but that's
the
the,
contractor too, how much they
Yeah.
do one day versus another, how many trips they have to make back
I get
and
it.
forth.
Have we used this outfit before?
CTS?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
comfortable with them?
correct.
Okay. Well, you heard the recommendation is consideration for resolution to approve the proposal from CTS for the Merchants Park project. Is there a motion to that?
So moved.
Carolyn,
Second.
and JJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Base?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Sauer?
Yes.
Reniero?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Strack?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you.
I got a follow-up question. The railroad tie wall, I haven't been by there lately. What's the stat? That was gonna be done after the state tournament. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, at the
So
adult
that bid
complex?
has been let. We awarded a local contractor to come in. They just haven't started work yet. They're finishing some of their major projects and then they're gonna come in.
Good.
And that's at the adult complex, right?
Correct.
Okay, not at the merchants, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, item 8B would be water main replacement project. We heard a little bit about this last meeting, and I'll turn it back over to Randy. And before I do so, I have it at 5:41. And I'll go ahead and open the public meeting for, or public hearing for the water main distribution replacement. So Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. Plans for the water main replacement project have been submitted. They detail the replacement of water main at 3 locations, really 2 locations, 3 streets. East Street from 1st to 2nd, Grant Road from US 30 to 7th, and then US 30 from Grant Road east, 700 feet east of Vine Street. If you recall, the latter 2 are connected to the major water main breaks we had a year ago in Highway 30. So we're recommending that main be replaced. The specifications are the SUDAS standard specification that we've used in the past, plus supplemental and special provisions. Form of contract is the SUDAS sample form. The estimated cost of the project is $653,630. So including the design work, the current project cost is estimated at $724,030. Currently, funding is identified for the project at $500,000. Depending on how the bids come in, of course, that will be recommended for changing to cover the cost of the project or reduce the project scope to better fit into the available funding. The schedule includes bid opening, receipt and opening September 19th. The project is provided staging to kind of better accommodate bidding. A portion of it could be started and completed this year if the contractor so elected. The US 30 part, we are restricting for next year's initiation and completion. So unless there are any questions, I would recommend your consideration of adoption of the plans for the water main project.
Very good. Randy, it appears that as presented, it's about 2 1/4 short in the funding. And then, so again, if I heard you right, excuse me for asking again for clarification if I missed it, but so you prefer that we go ahead and let the bid, see what the bid comes in, and then the council will have a decision to either proceed with the full scope of the project and then determine a financing source, or reduce the scope of the project.
Yes,
Is that correct?
it is.
I heard it correctly then, so.
Yep.
What would be the council's wishes?
Find out what it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
Okay, so proceed. Is there a motion to that effect then? Oh, no, we got to close it. Yeah, but that's what you'll have to do. Okay. Yeah, okay. So is there any further questions while the public hearing is active? I've got 5:44. Go ahead and close the public hearing. And then now I would seek a motion to consider the adoption of plans and specifications, form a contract for the project.
So moved.
And that was that Laverne? Second by Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Strack?
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Bornero,
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Perfect. Okay, so we will move to 8C, which is Rolling Hills South Condominium Second Urban Renewal Plan. And Aaron,
Yes, Council. You have in front of you the developers agreement that, with 704 Development Corporation, we have come to a tentative agreement at this point in time. So the next steps to create the urban renewal area and to go forward with the development agreement is to set the public hearing or a resolution fixing the date for the public hearing, and then a resolution determining the necessity and setting dates of a consultation and a public hearing on the proposed Rolling Hills South condominiums.
okay. And you got everything that you need to know is in there. You've got the development agreement resolution, you got the development agreement itself, which Allers and Cooney's
Yep,
pretty well.
Yep, that was drafted by
authored
our
for
attorney
us, yep.
From Allers and Cooney, Nathan Overberg.
And then, so there's two resolutions involved in this. We got a development agreement resolution and the urban renewal resolution. And is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And tonight you're just setting the dates for the public hearing.
That's all that we're doing. So would we just do that in 2 weeks? Are we comfortable with you guys being out of town?
The process is such that we do have to wait and run it through P and Z. The urban renewal plan has to go through a consultation with our other taxing entities.
And they won't meet until the start of next month, so.
Well, we're planning on setting that date for September 20th. And we'll
Okay.
get notice out tomorrow of that. And then it has to go to P and Z and they won't meet until next month. And then we could do then the public hearing, the second meeting in October, which is October 23rd.
Okay. Everybody good on that timeline? You good on that timeline? Okay. So then let's go ahead and I made notes in the wrong spot on that, but we'll go ahead and I need a resolution first to fix the date for the public hearing on the proposal to enter into development agreement with 704. Is there a motion to that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so, got that? Tom and then Carolyn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bornero,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Shrek,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Base,
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Okay, and then you have a secondary resolution then to determine the necessity, which would be done at the same time. Is that correct then?
Yeah, and we're also setting those other dates, the consultation and the public hearing for the urban renewal plan.
Okay. So is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Tom
Second.
and JJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bornero,
Yes.
Shrek,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Base,
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you. Okay, we are to item 8D, which is our 408 West 7th Street. We first have a review of bids submitted, and then following that, there will be a resolution to set the public hearing on that. Aaron?
On Friday, we opened the proposals for the 408 West 7th Street bid, and as you can see in the memo, we had 4 bids. I think we had 4 very good bids. I think any one of these 4 contractors would do a good job and do what they are proposing. And I would leave it up to council to make the decision, and from my perspective, the building officials and myself are comfortable with any one of these 4.
I was here the other day when we opened the bids, so I don't have a whole lot of questions on them. I had a chance to see all but the one that came in through email, but
Correct.
I understood how they all came in, and certainly allow everybody for their comment. But once again, I would restate that all 4 were good bids. One of them just came in, higher than the rest, and had a pretty rock-solid business plan as far as getting it put together within about a 13-month time span. So, which I think sounds pretty reasonable, but I'll open it up for your comment and your review.
I personally like the aggressive timeline of Wendell's. We can have it done according to their plan by August of '24. It's the only bid that does not have moved the date out into '25. So August of '24, January '25, May of '25, summer of '25, plus an additional apartment, which adds to the valuation. So to me, looking at the high bid, 31,000 versus Wendell's 17,500, a difference of 13,500, that difference going with the higher bid, to me, it does not matter. It's the impact not only on the residents, but in the neighborhood. And I also appreciate that they are going to create new garages, so there will be a garage. They're also including not just, the bedrooms, et cetera, but also a living area. They're making really great use of the space. And I just think it is an investment that really fits with what we intended for our revitalization plan. We bumped the area up farther north and west so we could include this building that is being bid on. But we also hoped it would create some impetus within the area and the neighborhood. And I think that's what would happen with the plan, which to me has a lot of value added in the Wendell plan. It's the timing, it's the urban renewal revitalization area being impacted positively, and also increasing our tax base and getting some apartments available right away. We need housing, and this will get it done quickly.
Thank you, Carol. And anybody else?
I'm just looking at the numbers. The second bid from Dan Drake, 31,000. You're only talking 4 or 5 months difference from the whole thing. I mean, when you put it out for bid, you're looking at more money. It just makes sense. I mean, they're all going to get done within the next amount of time. If they get done, I mean, everybody knows how the construction work goes. It is what it is. You can put a date on there as much as you want. It may be 2, 3, 4, 5 months, a year. I'm more in on the second bid for more money. That's why we put it out there for bid, for the money. They're all doing the same thing. They're all gonna create apartments. They're all gonna do the same thing within a close amount of time.
The one you're talking about does not, they're going to build a parking lot, not garages. And to me, it's about the economic impact and the value added to the neighborhood. The 13,500 more we would get by going with a high bid, in my estimation, is not going to have the economic impact that the other higher bids would create. It's gonna have a positive impact on the neighborhood, and again, the 5 units to me is a plus. So, I mean, 13,500 to me is not significant when you weigh the impact overall, thinking long-term.
I don't see an estimate on the total cost at the end as far as the value of it. I mean, the Drake one says project budget is $550,000. The other one doesn't show anything. I mean, garages or no garages.
That's what they're investing.
Right.
But I think, given what we see that has been done with the White Mansion, that they will do a good job. All of them would do a good job. I'm just, in my mind, seeing a more significant impact economically and giving us another apartment, 5 units instead of 4. with a brand-new garage. I mean, 13.5 is a small amount when you factor the impact out long-term.
Anyone else?
I kind of like the idea, I mean, I kind of agree with Tom here. I like that Dan's group, like, I don't know. This is what they do for a living. We know that it's gonna look nice. I don't want to take away, it's gonna look good. I mean, if we went with them, it'll look nice.
I think they have a little more control over the situation, being a contractor, and nothing against the Wendells, because they do great work and he makes things nice. But electrical service, I mean, probably running new electrical service to that building, and some of the things you're probably a year out on.
The electrical service itself will be a year out for sure. It'll be September before we get a meter stack for it. That's if I ordered it today. So, I mean,
I just step back and I look at the whole process. We put it out for bid, they're the high bidders, they're all doing the same accomplishment as trying to refurb a building that is dilapidated and old and creating income for the city and a tax base. I just look at it as numbers. You know?
Is there any way that you would include a garage? I just see that that will enhance what you're going to ask for monthly rent, the $1,000 to $1,200 per month, correct? Or you're stuck with the parking lot? That's what really,
We're not saying we're not gonna put a garage there, but we wanna make sure that we can make it, financially fit first, you know? It has to make money for us too.
I mean, even at the 550, 600,000 you're gonna put into this thing, you're not even breaking even at that point.
no, those are very tight numbers. I mean,
Yeah.
If we're putting up a parking garages in another apartment, you're talking another $500,000.
And we're all contractors, so, I mean, obviously.
well, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable saying right here that we put in garages in an apartment building, because that's gonna be another, like I said, $500,000 project on top of that. One more apartment building's not gonna generate enough income to do that.
Oh, thank you.
Dan, you guys put on there that your start date would be like December-ish. That obviously, is that flexible? I mean, as you guys are available or have downtime?
The start date was hopefully December. That's when the demo crew that we talked to, that would go in there and start doing all the demo. So that's when we would start, is December of this year.
Depending on how fast you could close, we could start earlier too, a little bit. Not totally, but a little bit.
I mean, as soon as we took possession, you'll definitely start seeing changes there.
Yes.
Any other thoughts? Any other questions?
Kyle, you're in the rental business. What about the $1,000 to $1,200 a month for rent? That's pretty norm now, isn't it?
I would absolutely say so. And if it's new,
That's the new norm.
it's gonna bring the money.
Yeah.
Probably gonna have a waiting list.
A question I would have on the parking garages and everything is if that's gonna fit into the parking spaces, because there's a certain amount of parking spaces we have to have back there. So are you gonna have that with parking garages? Is that building gonna take up more of the space than what you guys are gonna allow us for tenant parking? That's something that we'd have to look into.
Most tenants are gonna have 2 cars. Obviously, I figure them having 1, but you know, if you have half of them having 2 cars, I think 6 spots for parking is even tight back there. So I think the concept of having that studio apartment above the garage is nice. I think it's tight for room. I think the garage back there now is very tight. I don't think there's a whole lot of room.
Dan, my question for you guys also would be, I see there's 4 names in on this, but who's your general?
Mike and I will be the general contractors on it, Mike Anderson and myself.
Okay.
I mean, I've already seen one that you've done down right by the post office, the one on the corner. That one's pretty nice. Really
And that
nice.
was, I mean, obviously on a smaller scale, but
Yeah.
we went in there and renovated that whole entire thing, demoed it down to the studs, and, I mean, and the people that the tenants that we have in are the same original ones that we did when we renovated. Nobody leaves. I mean, Nobody leaves when we're done. We have very, very small turnover.
Skimming this over, are you tearing down that old garage that's back there now?
Correct.
Okay, I must have missed it reading it. Oh, okay,
For the summer.
okay, that's why I'm missing it.
May I ask one other question? I know you mentioned retaining the historic nature of the facade, the brick on the front, but you mentioned, and to be honest with you, when I read this, painting of the brick, you aren't going to keep it in its natural. Is there a reason for that? To be honest, that was something that detracted from my support for this. So can you maybe go into a little detail on that?
We're just trying to keep it somewhat in the old state, but still bring it back to the modern era. I mean, not everybody around wants to see the old historic part of it, so we're trying to bring a mix of both involved in that. Kind of like what they did on the old Walgreens building, apartment building. That's new, but they still kept kind of a historic look in the front. I mean, they put some siding and painted it, and it's a very presentable building there on Highway 30. We're kind of going after a look like that.
Yeah, so, okay, thank you.
I guess I'm just gonna make the motion to go ahead and accept Dan and his crew's bid.
Second.
I'm gonna have you put that on park just for just a second. I mean, you've made a motion in a second, but I want to ask Dave, for tonight's business, I'm with these guys. I'd like to soon just make a decision on who we're gonna award the bid to. I would, but legally, is that something we have to wait for the public hearing to do? Or can we go ahead and approve the bidders tonight and then set the public hearing and then just finalize it then?
Yeah, what you're doing tonight is indicating to the public that you intend to accept this bid,
Okay,
okay? We'll put that in the resolution. We'll also put that in the public notice that will be published in the newspaper. And then the council will take final action then in 2 weeks,
okay.
approving the sale and authorizing the mayor to sign the deed.
Very good. That
So-
answered my question.
Yeah, so I guess to be a little shorter, everything would be subject to the public hearing and council approval in 2 weeks.
Okay, but we can go ahead and accept a motion and a second and then vote on that motion, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion, once again, was it Tom? or
JJ.
JJ, and then seconded by Tom to accept the proposal from, what do we call ourselves, Drake and Anderson? Close enough.
It's actually a future
Yeah.
LLC, but
In
it's
the-
Dan Drake that submitted it.
Perfect, yeah, in that LLC. Yeah, in
Yeah.
the amount of 31,500, I believe it was. So is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Shrek?
Yes.
Jerks?
Yes.
Seaman?
No,
Fordnero?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Motion is approved, or resolution is approved 5-1.
Very good, thank you. And so we would go ahead and set the public hearing for, we still need a resolution to set the public hearing for, on the same one, and that's for the date? The 25th, okay. And you guys are good being gone? Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, under reports, under item 9, Adam Street reconstruction, we have a change order. And Randy, back to
Thank
you
you,
again.
Mayor. As construction progressed on Adams Street, there were a few issues encountered that were outside of the contracted items. We've included 3 of those issues in a proposed change order number 1. Briefly, they include substitution of recycled concrete for the specified crushed limestone modified subbase. That resulted in a credit to the contract of $18,494.97. The second one was a sanitary sewer modification, and this is the type of thing that we always refer to underground work can lead to change orders. A very unusual situation on Adams Street between 9th and 10th. The existing sewer was actually built with a grade change between manholes and no manhole at that grade change. We rarely ever see that done, but we sure encountered it in this one. So it resulted in reconstruction of that portion of the block. Actually, to digress a little bit here, in a unit price contract, we make a change order for any added or deducted items in the contract. The unit price items, we don't necessarily change every time there's a change to the quantity of that item. So in this case, we did have to add an item in the contract at a value of $12,600. But part of that change in the sanitary sewer was already covered by the unit price bid items. So the quantity of those items will change a little in the contract, not reflected in this type of a change order. Now that's convoluted, but it's the way we operate with a unit price contract. The third item was a water service to Carroll County State Bank. Had to be changed to a 6-inch water service. Once again, it showed the change in the contract was the addition of a fitting, but the balance, the 6-inch water pipe, had already been bid. So there's a price on that. There will be some units added to the contract under that unit price contract for this change. So this change order shows a net decrease of $4,984.97, when in actuality, with the units being altered by the latter two items, there will actually be some increase in the cumulative change order, or not change order, the cumulative contract. But that's tried some kind of an explanation for it. I don't know if you have any questions or not. With that reduction, it brings the contract price down to $3,545,695.11. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend approval of the change order.
Very good. Any questions for Randy on this? Anybody going to contest him on his findings? Not me.
No,
Not me, not this mayor.
No.
never.
Well, I would seek a motion to approve the change order as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Tom, and then Carolyn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Dirks?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Schreck?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Bornero?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. Okay, moving right along, item 9B under reports is fire station floor replacement. Dan, welcome to the show.
So, as you can read in my memo, I believe in July, I submitted for, to have the floor replaced, and we gave that bid to Jannings, to have the hallway, meeting room, kitchen, and other areas epoxy to seal the floor back up. When we did that, about 3.5 weeks later, on the floor where the old glue down tiles were, moisture started coming up through the floor. So Jannings had to come back in, remove what all they had epoxied down, regrind the concrete, and then they began to test the moisture content of the concrete. So in our flooring, in the business side of the fire station, anytime that they tested the moisture in the concrete, it came back from 95%, 98%, 99% moisture in our concrete, even though the building is 17 years old. So anything that we would want to do to the floor, any of the treatments that even Janney's come back with stating that anything that's 95% and more, they won't guarantee it. So they could attempt to put it down, but we would end up in the same boat where you would start to see the moisture bubbling through the treatment of the floor. After talking to a lot of people about the situation, we've come down to just replacing it with the carpet squares, which they won't treat this concrete, they'll just glue it, and the glue that they're going to utilize is breathable, and the carpets are breathable. It's not like you see moisture in the concrete. You don't see it all day long. It's just that it needs to breathe, is what I've been told. So I had to scratch everything that we had, and I resubmitted for everybody, because now that we'll recarpet everything in the offices and things like that. The carpet's 17 years old, so I thought we would just do the entire fire station to match the same. So I reopened the bids, and those were the bids that I had received from the three companies here in Carroll. They all tell me that it'll breathe just fine with the carpet squares. You won't have any moisture. In the areas that there is carpet now, we've never had a moisture issue, so that carpet breathes the way the flooring is supposed to. I did have a company out of Des Moines come in, and they looked at it, and they gave me an offer of $47,000 to seal the floor up, and I thought that was a little high. But so that's why we went back to the carpet squares to do throughout the station. So I'm just seeking a motion here to get the flooring replaced, and my station has kind of been tore up since June. It's kind of a mess, so yeah.
Dan, I asked you a couple questions on this through email, just because there was a wide variance in the three bids. Two of them are pretty close, the one's a little higher. Just making sure that the two lower bids are using the same product would be.
When I asked for quotes, I didn't want the high end. I said we don't want the low end, because we want it to last. So they were giving me the middle of the line is what all three were giving me for products. Yeah. And certainly there's more, or there's better quality out there if we wanted to spend more money, but I think this will.
The prior carpet, was that a glue down as well? Okay.
Yeah, yep, that was squares in the meeting room also, yeah.
Warranty and such, all about the same?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I would have never known we'd had that kind of an issue with the flooring. I really felt bad for Jannings when they, just trying to get it completed. And he said, I'll put it back down, but we won't guarantee it. So that means if in 4 weeks, if it starts bubbling back, and literally you could take your finger where the bubbles were coming through, and you could pinch and water would come squirting out. But as the flooring sits there now, all that appears is where those squares, after they ground it all back to smooth concrete, you couldn't see anything. And as it's progressed, where all the squares were, you can see them in the concrete, where it indented from the 17 years it's been down. And nobody has an explanation why. I did have the city come in, and we bored a hole to see what was underneath there, the moisture barrier. I contacted Batings, and Ron came out with what they had put down, the moisture. It was a 10 mil vapor barrier with the rock on top, and then the poured concrete. And as we opened the hole up in the one closet, the gravel and the sand was like it wasn't wet. It was just kind of dampish. No explanation. The footings that were in were 4 foot down, how they're supposed to be. And since then, I have gone out on the outside and have changed how some of the downspouts run, trying to get the water to shed more away from the building, thinking maybe we'll alleviate part of that. And it's helped a bunch, but I don't know if we'll ever get the moisture out of there from what I've been told. It's in there.
Just out of curiosity, I know you said you asked somebody to come look at it and got a large bid on it, but is there any discussion like to dry lock it? It would seem odd to me that you would want that moisture coming up through there. I mean, I would think you'd be finding mold and,
There is none. It's not, again, it's not like that moisture in the old floor, and Aaron, you saw the old floor, in between the squares, it was like a calcification of the flooring that was actually given away, and they were popping loose. Jannings had, in their quote, when they originally took the floor out, had scheduled 2 days for removal of that flooring throughout the station, and it took them about 4.5 hours to tear it up. So they were, the glue or the substance they glued those tiles down with, and the moisture had eaten away at it, and it was just, yeah, they don't have an answer. And throughout the years, of the 17 years we've been there, one of the firemen works, they do the squares for a business, and throughout the time, we have replaced a lot of the squares, the ones that were gotten bad and chipped away. And then, like I said, it's just to the point, and when Greg had retired, he had it in his budget to get it replaced this year. Well, then I found all this, so I'm in the menagerie, yeah.
But there really is no talk about trying to seal it.
They don't think, they think if you seal it, try to seal it, even, I mean, Jannings said they can buy a better sealant, but they're not gonna guarantee it. And the company that quoted the really expensive, the product that they were gonna put down, it was gonna be like a little over 1/4 inch thick throughout the whole floor to seal it. And then, I mean, I don't know if the rest of the rooms that have carpet in it don't have an issue because it breathes. I just foresee moving on, you know? I don't know if that's the right answer, but I think that's, right now, cost-wise and things, that's probably the most economical way to look at it. Let it breathe.
What other questions do we have for Dan? Per his recommendation, is he seeking a motion to approve the low bid Pringer Furniture to replace the flooring at a price of $12,892.67. Tom? Second out there?
Second.
And JJ? Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bordenero?
Yes.
Strack?
Yes.
Pace?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Put her back together, Dan. Okay, we are to item number 9C, which is a Region 12 COG, the Home Construction Agreement Amendment. And Councilman Dirks had asked this to be on tonight's agenda. And Aaron, I'll turn it over to you first.
As you've read in the memo, having discussions with Carla Jannings out at Region 12, and then along with Councilman Dirks being at the housing conference this past week, it's been kind of brought to the attention that in order to increase housing and increase housing quickly, remodels are easier to get a hold of, and that we've learned in this town, rather than trying to find open lots and to put new houses on. So the request is to modify the agreement to add remodeling to the Region 12 agreement rather than just new builds. I didn't want to bring an amended contract to you at this point because I wanted to make sure the council was in favor of this. And then, so the next council meeting will bring, or might be the first one in October when we're back, a modified agreement to add remodels plus the new homes. It wouldn't change the amount of dollars that we're committing to the project, just allowing Region 12 to do remodels on top of new construction. Anything else, Liver?
Are we only allowing this to Region 12 or other contractors in the town?
It would be just an amendment to Region 12's agreement.
I had that question as well.
So with the remodel, what all are they gonna do? Is there certain things they can and can't do? Is it gonna raise the value of the house? Because I know prior to coming into this, we had something set up where homeowners could get I think it was a rebate, but it had to increase the value of their house. So with this, is there certain parameters that, I mean, take for instance, to remodel it, is it gonna get new windows? Or is it just gonna get some lipstick on the inside, maybe some fresh paint on the outside that doesn't really add any value but changes it? I guess my ROI for this thing would be like, how do you increase the tax base of these houses versus them purchasing a house and saying, okay, well, I did 30,000, which doesn't go very far right now. It really doesn't. I mean, you'd be lucky to maybe get new carpet and paint, and that's it. Then you're out the door.
Of course, Region 12 isn't as a nonprofit, but they're
Right.
also, when they're remodeling a house, they are doing a number of things. So part of that remodel is probably gonna include siding, windows. I can't promise you, it depends on what it needs, and they're kinda constrained depending on the size of the house as to how much they can do. But their budgets are typically considerably more than just like they wouldn't be investing just the 30,000 that
Right.
we were giving them. And so, yeah, how much will your assessed value increase? Kinda depends on how much money they put into it, but is it the same as far as a new construction? No.
I'm not saying the new construction stuff. I'm just saying, could we write it in there that it needs to add some value to the house versus just lipstick with the Region 12 one?
Well, I think they have to take vacant lots anyway, don't they? Run this.
Vacant lots?
Vacant homes, I mean.
Vacant homes, yes. So the answer to your question is, yeah, we could probably talk about that and bring that back to you for approval as far as how much the increase is.
So it must be a vacant home? That's the
the
first I've heard
understanding I
that. That's the first I've heard that.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because I think to Tom's point, and I concur, is what constitutes a remodel? A paint job? New windows? New carpet? New carpet squares?
Well, I mean, it's
I
valid
mean, what
points. I'm just-
constitutes a remodel if we're gonna hand them $30,000? And to his point, with the ROI, you already know how I feel about $30,000 in that ROI. But what constitutes a remodel? What's the definition of that? We don't know.
Kyle, you go into a house, what do you consider remodeling it?
I mean,
So
if
you
I
buy-
did something, I'm doing, if the siding's junk, I'm doing siding, windows,
Your main
furnace,
ones.
AC. I mean,
What these boys are doing is a remodel.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then some.
And then some.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty easy, but I guess what I'm, to his point is, well, what's a slap of paint, you know?
I
gonna
think
do?
if the council's in favor of this, I think that would be something that we would add in as a definition, and I think we could work something out with Rick and Carla as far as the definition of what they're going to do to a house that they pick up.
So if you're saying we put in 30,000, they should put in a number of, similar to that or more.
Oh, I just look back at the whole thing in the beginning where it's like, if the city and taxpayer dollars are going to be put towards this, how does it come back to the city as far as your return on investment? How do you make this money back by handing out 30,000? Rather than just Region 12 saying, I got this house, I threw 30 into it, I walked away, nothing really changed for the city, except for possibly maybe that older house got sold sooner, but it still didn't change anything on the market. Does that make sense? Because I'm sure they're not going after $350,000 homes.
No, Tom, you're making a good point, and I know I brought this up with Aaron, the contract regarding the new homes they were going to construct on vacant lots. They will construct homes on acquired lots with a projected appraised value of no less than $150,000. As Aaron said, though, too, it depends on what the house needs.
Right.
But is there some way, without setting a specific amount, that we could guarantee that it will bring a good return and build our tax base? Yes.
Is somebody else already doing this with their Region 12? I mean, are there other towns doing this where we don't have to recreate this wheel?
I think Jefferson was, weren't
I
they?
think
Doing
Manning,
something similar to it?
I'd have to look at what they've done, I'm not sure, but I would venture to guess Manning and Jefferson both have done some sort of remodels or assistance to.
It'd be nice to know what they did and how they did it versus us just sitting here trying to.
And I don't remember the region that the guy was I was talking to. There's 17 regions in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Laverne, you're in charge of this housing
Yeah.
committee. You should know all those answers. Seriously.
This is something I brought up for discussion amongst us,
Yeah.
I think it's worthy of a discussion, but I feel like we shouldn't have to recreate the wheel here. I mean, I feel like you should be able to go to another city. What are they doing with the Region 12 cog to do the same sort of thing? Is it gonna work here in Carroll? Let's come back and look at what they did. Did it work there? Did it not work there? And then we can talk about it from there.
I would venture a guess Rick could give us all that information and would be more than happy.
I thought
to,
maybe
so.
they'd be here tonight. I was a little surprised that they
Well,
weren't.
I just asked if he'd be interested
Right.
in us changing that, because again, I didn't know what the council's attitude was gonna be towards amending the contract. So if the council's interested in amending the contract, then I can have further discussions to bring more information back to the council
Yeah.
going forward.
Do you have a list of questions started? Because I certainly do. I mean, if we, yeah, I mean, to Misty's point too, if we're gonna let the region do this,
Right.
why don't we let people like this do that?
Correct. I mean, we've already done it.
Yeah.
So.
And then
what-
we've
what
given
am I
them,
gonna get?
we've given them an incentive of up to $75,000 for 5 years.
That's a, yeah,
So is that gonna be on
tax
top of this too?
abatement. That I can't answer.
Okay, we just,
I'd have to look
okay.
into that.
I mean, good for the
Yeah.
discussion, but
Yeah,
we got a
all-
lot of
all
legwork to
residential
do.
homes in the city, exclusive of the ones in the urban renewal areas, are eligible for tax abatement.
Sure. So then,
Then there's a tax abatement on top.
so,
On the 75,000 of added
Right.
value,
Mhm.
right? Right.
so unless there's a way to exclude that, this would be on top of that, you know?
I guess that's where I was going with it. How do we word it that it has to do that same type of thing that we had initially? Rather than just say, poof, here's 30 grand, go fix it up and sell the house, and let's hope it spurs some interest in the market. So, that makes sense?
And you got the vacant house question.
Mhm.
Okay, and then one other question is, Tom, didn't you ask me earlier about, is this income-based? Not income-based?
Yeah, that was my
Is
other
the
question.
The original contract isn't income-based, right?
Right, but depending on which program they use, and of course, I don't understand all of their programs, but depending on which programs they use, it can be income-based depending on how they assist. So yes, the answer could be yes, but the answer could be no also.
And one other thing is, we wouldn't want to grant this to something that's gonna be a nonprofit. That's another consideration.
Could we have them
Well,
come?
that just means,
That'd be the same for the new.
but a nonprofit is remodeling and then they're selling it, not, what you're saying is we don't want them to keep it and then rent it out, so where then it doesn't get.
Or to
create
sell it
tax
to another
base.
nonprofit.
Agreed, yes.
And I think it's a valid
That's a
point.
good
Yeah.
stipulation.
But we actually should have that in our the new one then too, because couldn't they do the same there?
How do you control who they sell it to?
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah. But if not, should have been Funko as well, so.
See, these are all good discussion points, you know?
What about nonprofits? No?
So Aaron, you're gonna run questions by them, and then would Rick or Carla, somebody be available in case we have other questions?
And maybe bring it
That
up
worked
again
well the
for.
last time.
Yep.
Pardon,
Maybe-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Just gonna say, maybe bring it back up for October 7th, because
Mhm.
you guys will be gone and too, so. And I'll follow back up and I'll kind of recapture some things that I caught here too, so. Is there anything else anybody has to add about it? I mean, I think what I'm hearing is you're generally open to it, provided we get more information and more accountability.
Yeah, I'm
and-
just more interested in the Region 12 part of it. You hear Region 12 and I just think somehow income-based stuff, and how does it all work?
Okay.
And then how does it, how do we recoup as a city the money that we're spending back?
Okay.
So,
Anything else? Thank you all. Okay, we are nearing our conclusion, but we have committee reports. Comments from the mayor, I've got just a real quick one. You know, the last we met, we were meeting with HUD the next day. Aaron and Laverne joined me that day, and I just wanted to follow back up with you what, if anything, we uncovered during that meeting. And I'm not going to say disappointed, but I guess I thought there would be a little bit more of a eureka moment with him. And he was very helpful, gave us a ton of information, that thick, right, Laverne? That Old Testament.
Sure, we can use it.
But it's going to take a much deeper dive than what I'm ready to report yet tonight. But we'll have some ongoing dialogue with him. He's available to us as a free consultant, free. There's no such thing as free, but he's a super good guy and very knowledgeable. But I'll report back to you.
About the only one that will work with you.
Well, about the only one that's returning my email. So, anyways, it's yeah, another story. Okay, and then comments from City Council. Laverne, you've got a couple things to bring up about the housing
I
conference.
figured I'd give about a 5-minute rehab on the housing, just some highlights at this point. One of the meetings I went to was with realtors and bankers and people that are involved with the interest rates. And they're thinking that the feds may increase the interest rate one more time, but possibly not. And if they do one more time, it is their gut feeling that that'll be it, no more. So, and they're also saying it's not gonna drop real quick, so this might be the new norm that we're at. And I remember when I bought my house, it was 8%.
Yeah.
You know, so they're saying plan on this being the new norm. If anything, maybe it'll go to 6%, but don't look for it in the near future. And then they also said by 2027, house prices will be at least 10 to 20% higher. Then they talked about buying a home in between the ages of 20 and 30-year-old compared to waiting until you're 30 and 40. The value of your home will increase more than probably what you can save because you're going to be paying rent, you know, if you're not a home buyer at that point. So try to get into buying a home at a younger age because your assessed value of your home will help. One thing I was kind of surprised at is we had a meeting where everybody talked about what incentives they're doing. And I was surprised that every city, even Waukee, gives incentives. And I'm like, Waukee, seems like there's homes being built all the time, but they said they have a huge problem with workforce housing. They got all these expensive homes and all these businesses, but they can't get people to live there because Waukee's assessed value is so high and their tax rate that they can't afford workforce housing, these people, because the home is going to be way too expensive. So Waukee's incentive for workforce housing is really high, like 25, 30-year payback or ROI, just to get, they got to get the price of that home so low that the workforce housing person can buy it and make the payments. So that's what they have to do. The other parts of the communities, apartment houses, 2 and 5 stories, there's a lot of incentives for those going out with cities. And then the highest incentives is like the old brick buildings, changing them from factories or down floor buildings and that. That's a combination of city and the state incentives. And that's probably the highest. And a lot of those, they don't ever expect an ROI. They just expect to supply a service to get housing. And then the new thing that's going out that's not in Iowa much, but now on the larger cities is you design your home on the internet. You design it all the way down to the doorknobs and everything. And then you have a list of contractors that you can submit it to, or you can just open it up to any contractor, and that's how they're finding their contractors now in these areas. It hasn't been in Iowa yet, but that's kind of coming. It's kind of like that, you see that where they deliver a new car to your home, Carvana. But it's similar to that. Yeah. And they'll even get down to the point someday that if you have a water problem or a wall, you'll just go on the internet and you'll select contractors and they'll pick it up, and pretty soon it won't be done by calling somebody up, you know, to come. You're gonna do it all online is what's happening. It's not in Iowa right now. That's just some highlights from that council, that meeting.
Anything else, Laverne? Thank you. Comments from city manager.
Yeah, Mayor, you had mentioned that Laverne and I probably won't be here at the next council meeting. We will be on our trip to DC. That's the 25th through the 28th. Also October 1st through the 4th, which is Sunday to Wednesday, I will be gone at the National ICMA Conference in Austin, Texas. So just FYI, moving forward here in the next couple weeks.
Don't you have something before Washington though also?
Yeah, that was that housing conference that I missed because my wife was in the hospital.
Oh, okay.
I thought it'd be okay if I missed the conference
Yeah.
because my wife was okay. So I apologize for not going.
How to Stay Married by Aaron Quaker. So, okay. All right. We're at that time, Tom.
So moved.
All right. A second to that?
Second.
All right. Motion a second. Any further discussion? Undebatable? All those in favor? Yeah, I know. It's like roll call, please.
Dirk?
Yes.
Bornero?
Aye.
Trying to speed her up.
Seaman?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Ballard?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.